Lee Dae-ho pressed his face against the small window of the transport ship and watched Harmony Station grow larger in the distance. The massive structure spun slowly in space, its silver hull reflecting the light from 3 different suns. After 6 months of travel from Earth, he was finally here. "First time seeing the station?" asked the pilot, a friendly woman with blue skin and 4 arms. "It's beautiful, isn't it? Home to students from 47 different worlds." Dae-ho nodded, not trusting his voice. He was nervous, more nervous than he had ever been in his life. Out of millions of applicants from Earth, only 12 humans had been accepted into the Galactic University Exchange Program. The weight of representing his entire species felt heavy on his shoulders. The docking bay was huge, filled with ships of all shapes and sizes. Some looked like metal birds, others like floating crystals, and a few seemed to be made of living wood. Dae-ho grabbed his single bag and followed the other passengers toward the station entrance. The first thing that hit him was the smell. Not bad, just different. Like flowers mixed with metal and something he couldn't identify. The second thing was the noise. Hundreds of different voices speaking in languages he had never heard before, mixed with the hum of machinery and the echo of footsteps on metal floors. "Welcome to Harmony Station," said a voice in perfect English. Dae-ho turned to see a tall, thin being with gray skin and large black eyes. "I am Orientation Guide Vel 7. You must be Lee Dae-ho from Earth." "Yes, that's me," Dae-ho said, trying not to stare at the guide's 3-fingered hands. "Excellent. Please follow me. Your roommate is waiting in your assigned quarters." They walked through corridors filled with students of every imaginable shape and size. Some walked on 2 legs like humans, others floated, and a few moved on what looked like wheels. Most stopped talking when they saw Dae-ho, whispering to each other in their strange languages. He caught the word human several times, always spoken in hushed, careful tones. "Is there something wrong?" Dae-ho asked the guide. "Wrong? Oh no, nothing wrong. It is just that most students have never seen a human before. Your species has quite a reputation." "What kind of reputation?" The guide's large eyes blinked slowly. "Well, Earth is classified as a Class 13 Deathworld. Most students here come from much safer planets. They are curious about how your species survived such a dangerous place." Dae-ho frowned. Dangerous? Earth seemed pretty normal to him, but before he could ask more questions, they arrived at his room. The door slid open to reveal a young man about his age unpacking clothes into a metal locker. He had black hair and kind eyes, and when he saw Dae-ho, his face lit up with relief. "Thank goodness, another human," he said in Korean, rushing over to shake Dae-ho's hand. "I'm Kim Jae-wook, engineering major from Busan. I've been here for 3 days and I was starting to think I was the only one." "Lee Dae-ho from Seoul," Dae-ho replied, grateful to hear his native language. "How has it been so far?" Jae-wook's smile faded a little. "Interesting. The other students are nice enough, but they keep asking strange questions about Earth. Yesterday, someone asked me if it was true that humans could survive in boiling water. Another wanted to know if we really ate poison for fun. That's weird. Tell me about it. My advice? Don't mention anything too specific about home. Some of these aliens get really nervous when you talk about normal Earth stuff." Before Dae-ho could ask what he meant, a soft chime sounded through the room's speakers. "Attention, new students," announced a voice. "Orientation begins in Conference Room Alpha in 30 minutes. Please report for your welcome briefing and class assignments." The conference room was packed with students from dozens of different species. Daeho and Jae-wook found seats near the back, next to a girl with pale green skin and silver hair who introduced herself as Yoon Sora from Altair Prime. "Oh, you're the humans?" she said with excitement. "I've read so much about your species. Is it really true that your planet has storms that can destroy entire cities?" "Well, yes, but—" Daeho started. "Fascinating. And you live through them?" "We usually go inside when the weather gets bad," Daeho said, confused by her amazed expression. A tall human man stepped onto the stage at the front of the room, and the chatter died down. He had graying hair and wore the blue uniform of a university. "Professor, welcome students to Harmony Station and the Galactic University Exchange Program. I am Professor Kong Tae-min, your coordinator and instructor for comparative planetology. For the next year, you will live, study, and learn together, sharing knowledge from your home worlds." He gestured to the mixed crowd of students. "You represent 47 different worlds, 47 different evolutionary paths, and 47 different ways of understanding the universe. Some of you come from ocean worlds, others from desert planets. Some evolved under heavy gravity, others in the gentle pull of small moons." His eyes found Daeho in the crowd. "And some of you come from worlds that tested your species in ways that shaped you into something truly remarkable." Professor Kang continued, "This semester, we will focus on environmental adaptation strategies across species. You will learn not just about other worlds, but about how different environments created different kinds of intelligence, different strengths, and different ways of seeing the universe." A student with blue fur and 4 eyes raised her hand. "Professor, will we be studying the Deathworlds too?" "Absolutely. In fact, we are fortunate to have students from Earth with us this year. They will provide valuable insights into survival, strategies that most of us cannot imagine." Daeho felt dozens of eyes turned toward him and Jae-wook. Some looked curious, others worried, and a few seemed almost scared. Earth is classified as one of the most dangerous inhabited worlds in known space, the professor continued. Variable gravity, extreme weather, deadly radiation, toxic atmosphere components, aggressive wildlife, and geological instability. Yet humans not only survived there, they thrived. "How?" asked a small, furry creature near the front. "Professor," Kang smiled, "that, my students, is what we will discover together. Our human classmates will help us understand how their species developed the remarkable adaptations that allowed them to master such a hostile environment." After the briefing, students began to mingle and introduce themselves. Daeho found himself surrounded by curious aliens asking careful questions about Earth. Most seemed friendly but nervous, as if they expected him to suddenly do something dangerous. A tall girl with crystal-like skin approached him. "I'm Park Mi-young from Centauri Prime. I study diplomatic relations between species. May I ask you something?" "Sure. Is it true that humans can survive in temperatures that would kill most other species?" Daeho thought about it. "Well, with the right clothes, we can handle pretty cold weather. And in summer it gets pretty hot. But we manage." Mi-young's crystal skin flickered with different colors. "Amazing. On my world, a temperature change of just 5 degrees requires us to seek shelter." As the evening went on, Daeho realized that what seemed normal to him was incredible to his new classmates. Their questions made him think about Earth in a new way. Maybe his home planet really was more dangerous than he had thought. Walking back to his room with Jae-wook, Daeho felt a mix of pride and worry. He was proud to represent humanity, but concerned about living up to everyone's expectations. Do you think we're really that different from them? He asked his roommate. Jaewook shrugged. I guess we'll find out. But hey, at least they're interested in learning about us instead of being afraid. Daeho nodded, looking out at the stars through a corridor window. Tomorrow, his real education would begin, and he would start to understand just how unique his species really was. 3 days into his stay at Harmony Station, Daeho was starting to feel more comfortable. He had found his way around the main corridors, figured out how to use the food dispensers, and even made a few friends. The study group that met in recreation, Room C, had become his favorite part of each day. The group was small but diverse. Besides Daeho, there was Sora from Altair Prime with her green skin and curious nature, Park Mi-young from Centauri Prime, who seemed to shimmer when she was excited, and Choi Hyun-soo, a serious medical student from Viridia, whose purple skin changed shades when he was thinking hard. They were working on their first assignment for comparative planetology, a report on how their homeworld's environments shaped their species' development. Daeho was having trouble with his part because what seemed normal to him appeared to fascinate everyone else. I still don't understand how you can write so little about your planet's weather, Sora said, looking at his notes. You only have 3 sentences. Well, what else is there to say? Daeho asked. It's just weather. Sometimes it rains. Sometimes it's sunny. Sometimes it gets cold or hot. Hyun-soo looked up from his own notes, his purple skin shifting to a deeper shade. But you mentioned yesterday that your planet has something called seasons. Could you explain those? Oh, that's easy, Daeho said, relaxing. The weather changes throughout the year. In spring, everything starts growing and it rains more. Summer gets hot and sunny. Fall gets cooler and the leaves change colors. Winter gets cold and sometimes it snows. Mi-young's crystal-like skin began to flicker with soft blue light. Snow? Frozen water that falls from the sky, Daeho explained. It piles up on the ground and makes everything white. Kids like to play in it. Frozen water falls from your sky? Sora asked, her voice rising with excitement. And you go outside in it? Sure. You need warm clothes, but it's fun. We make snowmen and throw snowballs and go sledding. The 3 aliens exchanged worried glances. Hyun-soo cleared his throat. Daeho, on my world, if frozen water fell from the sky, we would consider it a natural disaster. Our emergency services would evacuate entire cities. Really? But it's just snow. Little kids play in it. How little? Mi-young asked. I don't know. Maybe 5 or 6 years old? The silence that followed made Daeho uncomfortable. Sora was staring at him with her mouth open, and Hyun-soo's skin had turned almost black with deep thinking. Maybe you could tell us more about your weather patterns, Sora said carefully. For the report, what are some other types of weather you have? Daeho thought for a moment. Well, there are thunderstorms. Those are pretty common in summer. Lightning, thunder, heavy rain. Sometimes they get pretty strong. Lightning? Hyun-soo asked. Electrical discharges from the clouds. They make bright flashes and loud noises. The thunder can shake the windows. Mi-young's flickering became more rapid. And humans go outside during these electrical attacks? Attacks? Daeho laughed. They're not attacks. They're just storms. And no, we usually stay inside when they get really bad. But some people like to watch them from porches or windows. They're actually pretty beautiful. Beautiful, Sora repeated faintly. Yeah, and then there are hurricanes. Those are really big storms that can be dangerous. But they don't happen very often, and we have warning systems so people can get ready or leave the area. Hurricanes, Hyan-Su said, his skin now completely black. Could you describe these? They're like giant spinning storms. Lots of wind and rain. The wind can get up to maybe 200 kilometers per hour or more. They can knock down trees and damage buildings. The room was completely quiet. Daeho looked around at his friends and realized they were all staring at him with expressions of horror. Are you okay? He asked. 200 kilometers per hour wind? Sora whispered. Well, that's for really bad ones. Most aren't that strong. Most. Mi-young's voice was very small. And you said there are warning systems, Hyan-Su said slowly. That means these hurricanes happen regularly enough that your species develop technology to predict them. I guess so. They happen every year during hurricane season, but usually they stay out over the ocean or hit places where not many people live. Every year? Sora looked like she might faint. Daeho was starting to realize that maybe Earth's weather was more unusual than he had thought. Look, it's not as bad as it sounds. Most of the time, the weather is pretty nice. Sunny days, gentle rain, comfortable temperatures. What do you consider comfortable temperatures? Hyan-Su asked. Oh, maybe 20 to 25 degrees Celsius, though some people like it warmer or cooler. And uncomfortable temperatures. Daeho shrugged. Well, below 0 is pretty cold, and above 35 gets pretty hot, but people live in places where it gets much hotter or colder than that. Hyan-Su was taking notes very quickly now. Humans can survive in temperatures below the freezing point of water? With the right clothes and shelter, sure. Some places get down to minus 40 or even colder in winter. Mi-young made a sound that might have been a whimper. And the hot temperatures? Sora asked weakly. Some deserts get up to 50 degrees or more. People live there too. You just have to be careful and drink lots of water. 50 degrees, Sora repeated. Above the freezing point of water. Well, yeah. Water freezes at 0 and boils at 100, so 50 is right in the middle. The three aliens looked at each other again. This time, Mi-young was the one who spoke. Daeho, on Centauri Prime, our seasons change by exactly 2 degrees throughout the entire year. If the temperature went 3 degrees outside our normal range, most plants would die. If it went 5 degrees out of range, we would need emergency shelter. On Altair Prime, Sora added, we have never recorded wind speeds above 30 kilometers per hour. Anything faster than that would be considered a planetary emergency. Hyan-Su nodded. On Viridia, our atmosphere is so stable that our weather forecasts are accurate for years in advance. The idea of unpredictable storms that could happen at any time is... He paused, searching for words. It's terrifying. Daeho looked at his friends and felt a strange mix of pride and worry. He had never thought of Earth's weather as particularly dangerous. But seeing their reactions made him realize how much humans had adapted to survive in conditions that would kill most other species. But you do survive it, Sora said, leaning forward with renewed interest. Your entire species lives with these dangerous weather patterns every day. How? I don't know, Daeho said honestly. We just do. We build strong houses, wear appropriate clothes, pay attention to weather forecasts. Most of the time, it's really not that bad. Most of the time, Hyan-Su murmured, still taking notes. Yeah. And when it does get bad, we help each other out. Communities work together during storms. Neighbors check on neighbors. Emergency services help people who get in trouble. Mi Young's crystal skin was glowing softly now. So humans develop not just physical adaptations to survive these conditions, but social ones as well. I guess so. This is incredible, Sora said. No wonder your species was able to develop. Space travel. If you can survive hurricanes and frozen water falling from the sky, building rockets must seem easy. Deho had never thought about it that way. But maybe she was right. As he looked at his friends' amazed faces, he began to understand that what he considered normal childhood experiences might actually be survival stories that would impress beings from across the galaxy. For the first time since arriving at Harmony Station, Deho felt truly proud to be human. His species hadn't just survived on a dangerous world. They had thrived there, and somehow that had made them strong enough to reach for the stars. So, he said with a grin, want to hear about tornadoes? The horrified expressions on his friends' faces told him that yes, they definitely did. The cafeteria on Harmony Station was one of Deho's favorite places. It was huge, with sections designed for different species' dietary needs, and the food was surprisingly good. Most aliens ate what looked like various types of paste or small pellets, but the human section had actual recognizable meals. Deho was having lunch with his usual group, Sora, Mi Young, Hyun-Soo, and a new friend named Han Bo-Ram, a physics student from Rigel who had joined them after hearing about their weather discussion. The conversation was light and friendly as they compared their different foods. This is fascinating, Sora said, examining Deho's meal. Your food has so many different colors and textures. It's just a regular lunch, Deho said. Rice, some vegetables, meat, and soup. The variety is remarkable, Hyun-Soo added. On Viridia, we eat the same nutritional paste every day. It contains everything our bodies need. That sounds boring, Bo-Ram said. On Rigel, we have different flavored energy crystals for each meal, but they all taste basically the same. Deho nodded sympathetically and reached into his bag for the small bottle he always carried. Speaking of flavor, this food is a little bland for me. He unscrewed the cap of the bottle and tilted it over his rice. A few drops of dark red liquid fell onto his food. What is that? Mi Young asked, her crystal skin flickering with curiosity. Hot sauce, Deho said, stirring it into his rice. It makes food taste better. Hot sauce? Sora repeated. Yeah, it's made from peppers. Gives food a nice kick. Deho took a bite and smiled. Perfect. He noticed that his friends had all stopped eating and were staring at him. More than that, other students at nearby tables had stopped talking and were looking in their direction. Is something wrong? Deho asked. Did you just put a chemical on your food? Hyun-Soo asked, his purple skin going very pale. Chemical? No, it's just hot sauce. Made from peppers and vinegar and stuff? Peppers? Bo-Ram's 4 eyes were all focused on the bottle in Deho's hand. They're plants that grow on Earth. Some of them are spicy. The cafeteria was getting quieter. More students were turning to look at their table and some were moving away. Deho was starting to feel uncomfortable. Deho, Sora said very carefully. When you say spicy, what exactly do you mean? You know they make your mouth feel hot. It's a good feeling. Makes you want to drink something cool. Your mouth feels hot? Mi Young whispered. Yeah. And sometimes you sweat a little, and your eyes might water. But it's enjoyable. Lots of humans like spicy food. Hyun-Soo was studying his medical scanner, pointing it at Deho's food. His skin had gone from pale purple to almost white. Deho, This device is detecting capsaicin in your meal, okay? Capsaicin is a neurotoxin. It's used as a defense mechanism by plants to prevent animals from eating them. Right, that's what makes them spicy. You're eating poison, Bo-Ram said flatly. It's not poison, it's seasoning. The conversation was interrupted by a loud alarm. Red lights began flashing throughout the cafeteria, and a voice announced, "Chemical contamination detected in Dining Area 7. All students evacuate. Immediately, hazmat team to Dining Area 7. Students began running for the exits. In less than a minute, Dae-ho found himself sitting alone at his table, still holding his chopsticks, while his friends stood at a safe distance near the door. "Dae-ho!" So-Ra called out. "Come away from there!" "But I'm not done eating," he called back. 3 figures in full protective suits entered the cafeteria, carrying scanners and breathing equipment. They approached Dae-ho's table cautiously. "Sir, please step away from the contaminated area," one of them said through a voice modulator. "Contaminated? It's just lunch. Our sensors detected a Class 4 chemical weapon. Please evacuate for your own safety." Dae-ho looked down at his rice and hot sauce, then back at the hazmat team. "I think there's been a mistake. This is just food." "Sir, please cooperate. The chemical levels we're detecting could kill most species in this station." "It's hot sauce," Dae-ho said, starting to feel frustrated. "Look, I'll show you." He took another bite of his rice. The hazmat team jumped backward. One of them spoke, rapidly into a communicator. "Subject is consuming the toxic substance." "Repeat, subject is consuming the toxic substance. Medical team to Dining Area 7 immediately." "I'm fine," Dae-ho said with his mouth full. "See, it's just spicy." Dr. Kim arrived with the medical team, recognizing Dae-ho from his orientation physical. "What's the situation?" "Human student consumed approximately 5 milliliters of concentrated capsaicin," the hazmat leader reported. "He appears unaffected, but that's impossible given the chemical levels we're detecting." Dr. Kim looked at Dae-ho, who waved cheerfully from behind his rice bowl. "Oh, hot sauce." "Excuse me?" "Humans eat capsaicin for pleasure. It's a common food additive on Earth." Dr. Kim turned to the hazmat team. "You can stand down. He's not in any danger." "But the chemical readings are normal for human food. Humans have a very high tolerance for substances that are toxic to other species." The hazmat team looked at each other, then at Dae-ho, who was still eating his lunch. Slowly, they began to pack up their equipment. As the emergency teams filed out, Dae-ho's friends cautiously approached the table. "You really are okay?" So-Ra asked. "I'm fine. This is normal food for humans." "Normal?" Hyun-Soo's scanner was still beeping. "Dae-ho, the chemical levels in your meal would put me in the hospital." "But it doesn't hurt you?" Mi-young asked. "No, it feels good. Humans like the sensation." Bo-Ram sat down carefully, as if the table might explode. "So humans evolved to enjoy consuming toxins?" "I guess so. We eat lots of things that are probably poisonous to other species." "Like what?" So-Ra asked, though she looked like she wasn't sure she wanted to know. Dae-ho thought about it. "Well, there's alcohol. That's literally poison, but people drink it to relax and have fun." "Alcohol is a solvent," Hyun-Soo said weakly, "and coffee. That's made from caffeine, which I think is supposed to kill insects or something. But humans drink it to wake up in the morning." "Caffeine is a pesticide," Bo-Ram confirmed. "Oh, and chocolate. That's poisonous to a lot of Earth animals, but humans love it. We give it to children as treats." Mi-young's crystal skin had stopped flickering entirely. "You feed poison to your young?" "It's not poison to us. It tastes really good. What else do humans eat that would kill other species? Sora asked, looking like she was taking notes for a horror story. Deho continued eating while he thought. Fermented foods, I guess. Cheese, yogurt, pickles, kimchi. They're made by letting bacteria grow in them. You eat rotting food? Yan Su looked like he might be sick. It's not rotting, it's fermented. The bacteria makes it taste better and helps with digestion. Humans consume living bacteria on purpose, Boram said, as if she was trying to understand an impossible equation. Sure, it's good for you, the eye. Group sat in silence for a while, watching Deho finish his meal. Finally, Sora spoke up. Deho, I'm starting to understand why your species survived on a death world. What do you mean? If you can eat toxins, solvents, pesticides, and living bacteria for pleasure, what could possibly threaten you? Deho had never thought about human food that way, but looking at his friends' amazed and horrified faces, he began to realize that maybe humans really were tougher than he had imagined. Want to try some? He offered, holding out his chopsticks. The unified no from his friends echoed through the empty cafeteria, followed by nervous laughter. As they left for their next class, Deho overheard students whispering about the human who ate chemical weapons for lunch. He was starting to develop quite a reputation on Harmony Station, and he had a feeling it was only going to get more interesting from here. The recreation center on Harmony Station was impressive, with areas designed for dozens of different sports from across the galaxy. Most of them looked completely alien to Deho, but the basic concept was the same: students having fun and getting exercise together. Deho was stretching in the main gymnasium when Han Boram approached him. The Rigelian physics student had been friendly but somewhat skeptical ever since the hot sauce incident 3 days earlier. Deho, she said, her 4 eyes focusing on him with scientific interest. I have a question about humans. Sure? What is it? Everyone talks about how tough deathworlders are, but you seem fairly normal to me. I mean, yes, you eat toxins and survive extreme weather, but physically, you look quite ordinary. Deho wasn't sure if he should be offended or amused. Thanks, I think. What I mean is, you're not particularly large or heavily muscled. You don't have armor or natural weapons. How exactly did your species become so dangerous? Before Deho could answer, Jae-wook jogged over to join them. His roommate had been working out with some engineering students and looked barely winded. Despite an hour of exercise, "Hey, Deho, Boram," Jae-wook nodded to the Rigelian. "What are you two talking about?" Boram was asking about human physical capabilities, Deho explained. "Oh, that?" Jae-wook grinned. "Are you wondering if we're actually as tough as everyone says?" Boram's eyes narrowed with interest. "Exactly. I study physics and I believe in evidence, not rumors." "Well," Jae-wook said, "want to play a game? I heard there's something called null ball that's popular with students from high-gravity worlds." Null ball? Deho had heard other students mention it but hadn't tried it yet. "It's played in a variable gravity field," Boram explained, her interest clearly rising. "Players try to score goals while dealing with constantly changing gravitational forces. It requires excellent balance, strength, and adaptation." "Sounds fun," Deho said. Boram's expression became competitive. "Very well, but I should warn you, I'm quite good at null ball. Rigelians evolved under heavy gravity, so we're naturally strong." They made their way to the null ball court, where several other students were already playing. The court was a large sphere with goals at opposite ends and handholds scattered throughout. Players wore special suits that monitored their safety, while the gravity generators created different gravitational fields in different areas. Standard game, Boram explained as they put on their suits. First team to 5 goals wins. The gravity changes every 2 minutes, rotating through different levels. They were joined by Sora, Mi-young, and Hyun-soo, making 2 teams of 3 players each. Dae-ho found himself on a team with Jae-wook and Sora, while Boram teamed up with Mi-young and Hyun-soo. Starting gravity is 0.8 standard, announced the court's computer system. Game begins in 10 seconds. Dae-ho felt the change immediately as the gravity generators activated. The pull was noticeable but comfortable, similar to what he was used to on Earth. "This is the challenging level," Boram called out as the ball was released into play. "Most students find 0.8 quite difficult." But as the game began, Dae-ho realized. He felt lighter than normal, not heavier. He pushed off from a wall and sailed across the court with ease, surprising himself with how far he traveled. "Dae-ho, you're moving like you're in low gravity," Sora said, struggling to push herself toward the ball. "It feels light to me," he admitted, catching the ball and throwing it toward their goal. Boram intercepted the pass, but Dae-ho noticed she was moving more slowly than she had on the station's normal floors. "This is standard challenging gravity," she said, sounding slightly winded. "How are you moving so easily?" "I don't know. It just feels normal." The game continued, but it became clear that the humans were having a much easier time than their alien teammates. When the gravity shifted to 1.0 standard, Sora, Mi-young, and Hyun-soo all grabbed handholds to steady themselves. "Maximum gravity," Boram announced, but she sounded strained. "Maximum?" Jae-wook asked, executing a perfect flip in midair. "This feels like home." "Home?" Mi-young gasped. "This is Earth's gravity?" "Actually, Earth's gravity is about 1.1 standard," Dae-ho said, scoring their 3rd goal. "This is a little light." The court fell silent except for the hum of the gravity generators. Boram was floating near one of the walls, all 4 of her eyes wide with shock. "You're saying that what this court considers maximum challenging gravity is less than your home planet's normal gravity?" "Yeah, about 10% less." "And you've been living your entire lives under gravity that's stronger than our most difficult training setting?" Dae-ho and Jae-wook looked at each other. "I guess so." Hyun-soo was clinging to a handhold, his purple skin pale with effort. "That explains so much about human bone density and muscle development." "What do you mean?" Dae-ho asked. "I've been studying human medical data since you arrived. Your bones are incredibly dense compared to most species, and your muscle fibers are much more efficient. We thought it was genetic, but it's environmental adaptation." The gravity shifted again, this time to 1.2 standard. Sora made a sound of distress and grabbed onto the nearest wall while Mi-young's crystal skin flickered weakly. "Emergency gravity level," Boram announced weakly. "This setting is only used for strength training for the toughest species." But Dae-ho barely noticed the change. If anything, this felt more like home. He pushed off from the floor and jumped nearly 3 meters straight up, something that would have been impossible in Earth's gravity. "How high can you jump on Earth?" Sora asked in amazement. "Maybe half a meter on a good day," Dae-ho said, landing softly. "This lighter gravity makes everything easier." Jae-wook was having similar success, moving through the 3-dimensional space like he was swimming through air. "This is actually fun. We should play null ball more often." "More often?" Boram looked like she might faint. "You want to do this? For fun?" "Sure." though it might be more challenging if you could increase the gravity some more. Increase it? Mi Young's voice was very small. The court only goes up to 1.5 standard, and that's considered dangerous for most species. Could we try 1.5? Daeho asked the computer. Warning, the system announced. 1.5 standard gravity exceeds safety parameters for 73% of known species. Continue? Sure. The gravity increased again, and their alien friends immediately sank toward the floor, unable to continue playing. But Daeho and Jaewook kept moving, though they had to work harder now. This is more like a workout, Jaewook said, scoring their fifth and final goal. As the game ended and the gravity returned to station normal, their friends slowly recovered from what had clearly been an exhausting experience. I need to recalculate everything I thought I knew about Deathworlder adaptations, Boram said, sitting heavily on a bench. No wonder humans were able to survive on such a dangerous planet. You're literally built to withstand forces that would crush most other species. We don't feel particularly strong, Daeho said honestly. That's because you're comparing yourselves to other humans, Hyunsu explained. From our perspective, watching you two play in gravity that should have incapacitated you was like watching superheroes. Sora nodded weakly. On Altair Prime, our gravity is 0.6 standard. What you just did would be impossible for anyone from my world. And on Centauri Prime, we have 0.7 standard gravity, Mi Young added. I've never experienced anything close to what we just played in. Daeho was beginning to understand that humans might be much more physically capable than he had realized. What felt normal to him was apparently extraordinary to most of the galaxy. Want to play again tomorrow? Jaewook asked cheerfully. The best horrified looks on their friends' faces suggested that no, they definitely did not want to play again tomorrow. But as they left the recreation center, Daeho noticed that the looks of horror were mixed with something else: respect. His alien friends were starting to understand that humans hadn't just survived on a death world through luck or technology. They had survived because they were strong enough to thrive in conditions that would kill most other species. And somehow, that realization made Daeho feel proud of his heritage in a way he never had before. The biodome on Harmony Station was one of Daeho's favorite places to visit. It was a huge transparent sphere attached to the station's main hull, filled with plants and small animals from dozens of different worlds. Professor Kang had arranged a field trip there for their xenobiology class, and Daeho was looking forward to seeing what other planets considered normal wildlife. The class of 20 students from various species moved through the biodome in small groups, examining the carefully maintained habitats. Each section represented a different world's ecosystem, complete with the appropriate atmosphere, lighting, and gravity. Daeho was walking with his usual friends, Sora, Mi Young, Hyun-Soo, and Boram, when they entered a section labeled Kepler 438b Grassland Environment. The area looked peaceful, with gentle rolling hills covered in purple grass and small flowering plants. This ecosystem is considered very stable, Professor Kang explained to the group. Kepler 438b has no large predators and very little environmental variation. It's an ideal world for peaceful herbivorous species. The students spread out to examine the various plants and insects. Everything seemed calm and quiet until a small creature hopped out from behind a cluster of flowers. The reaction was immediate and dramatic. Students screamed and ran in all directions. Several of them activated emergency beacons on their suits, while others called for security. Boram grabbed Sora and pulled her behind a large rock, while Hyun-Soo and Mi Young hugged each other. in terror. "Predator!" someone shouted. "Apex predator in the biodome!" Deho looked around in confusion, trying to see what had scared everyone so badly. All he could see was a small, furry creature about the size of a rabbit. It had large ears, soft brown fur, and was peacefully eating some of the purple grass. "Where?" he called out to his friends. "Where's the predator?" "Right there." So-Ra pointed a shaking finger at the small animal. "Can't you see it?" Deho looked at the creature again. "That little guy? He's adorable." The biodome's emergency alarm started sounding, and security guards in protective suits came running into the section. Professor Kang was trying to calm the panicking students while simultaneously calling for the biodome's animal control team. "Everyone stay calm," he announced. "The creature is contained in this section. Move slowly toward the exits." But Deho didn't move toward the exits. Instead, he walked closer to the small animal, curious about what had caused such panic. "Deho!" Hyunsu called out in horror. "What are you doing? Get away from it!" "It's just a little rabbit thing," Deho said, crouching down a few meters away from the creature. "Look at those big eyes. He's probably scared with all the noise." The animal looked up at him and twitched its nose. Deho smiled and made soft clicking sounds, the way he might call to a cat back on Earth. "Deho, get away from there!" Bo-Ram screamed. The security team arrived and immediately aimed their stun weapons at the small creature. "Student, step away. From the apex predator immediately." "Apex predator." Deho looked at the peaceful animal, then at the armed security team, then back at the animal. "This is a predator?" "Class 7 hunter," the security chief confirmed. "Binocular vision, forward-facing eyes, obvious territorial behavior. We need to evacuate this section immediately." Deho examined the creature more carefully. It did have forward-facing eyes, he realized, though they were large and gentle-looking. But it's eating grass. "Probably hunting behavior," one of the guards said, "waiting for prey to approach." "I don't think so," Deho said, standing up. Slowly. "Look at its teeth when it chews. Those are flat, designed for grinding plants. And its body shape is built for quick escapes, not hunting. Plus, its eyes are positioned to watch for danger from above and to the sides, not to focus on prey in front." The security team paused, confused by his analysis. Professor Kang approached carefully. "Deho, how do you know so much about predator? Identification? Well, on Earth, we have lots of animals like this. We call them rabbits or hares. They're prey animals, not predators." "Prey animals?" So-Ra called out from behind her rock. "What are prey animals?" Deho realized he might have said something confusing. "Animals that get hunted by other animals, like this little guy. He's probably afraid of larger creatures that might want to eat him." The silence that followed was different from the panic. Silence. This was a deeper, more thoughtful quiet. "Deho," Professor Kang said carefully. "If this creature is prey, what hunts it?" "Oh, lots of things. Hawks, foxes, wolves, sometimes snakes. Depends on the ecosystem." "And where do humans fit in this hunting relationship?" Deho thought about it. "Well, humans are apex predators, so we're at the top of the food chain. We can hunt pretty much anything if we need to." The biodome fell completely silent except for the soft munching sounds of the rabbit-like creature eating grass. "Apex predators," Bo-Ram repeated faintly. "Yeah. Humans evolved as persistence hunters. We would chase prey animals until they got too tired to run anymore, then catch them." "You hunted other animals?" Mi Young's voice was barely a whisper. Ancestors did. Modern humans mostly get food from farms and stores, but we still have the instincts and abilities. Hyun-Soo emerged from behind his hiding spot, his purple skin very pale. Daeho, you're saying that humans evolved as the creatures that hunt other creatures? I guess so. We have forward-facing eyes for depth perception, hands for making tools and throwing things accurately, and the endurance to chase prey for long distances. The endurance we saw in Nullball, Boram said, understanding dawning in her voice. And the throwing accuracy, Sora added, remembering how precisely Daeho had thrown the ball during their game. Professor Kang was looking at Daeho with new interest. Class, I think we've just discovered something very important about human evolution. Daeho, could you explain how humans identified prey versus predators on Earth? Sure. Prey animals usually have eyes on the sides of their heads to watch for danger, and they're built for running away quickly. Predators have forward-facing eyes for tracking prey, and they're built for catching other animals. And humans? Daeho touched his own face. Forward-facing eyes, hands designed for grasping and throwing, long legs for running long distances, and teeth that can eat both plants and meat. Omnivorous apex predators, Professor Kang said, making notes on his tablet. Class, do you understand what this means? The students looked at each other, then at Daeho, who was still standing calmly near the small creature that had terrified them all. It means, Hyun-Soo said slowly, that humans aren't just tough enough to survive on a death world. They're dangerous enough to be the thing that other creatures are afraid of. Sora emerged from behind her rock, staring at Daeho with amazement. You're not just a survivor from a dangerous world. You're one of the things that made it dangerous. Daeho looked down at the peaceful rabbit-like creature, then at his friends' awed faces. For the first time, he began to understand why other species treated humans with such careful respect. They weren't just impressed by human toughness. They were recognizing something much more fundamental. Humans were predators, evolved to hunt and catch other living things. And even though Daeho had never hurt anything bigger than a mosquito, that predator heritage was still part of who he was. The small creature finished eating and hopped away into the purple grass, completely unaware of the profound realization it had sparked. As the class left the biodome, Daeho noticed that his friends were looking at him differently. Not with fear exactly, but with a new kind of respect and understanding. He was still the same friendly student who shared his lunch and helped with homework. But now they knew that somewhere in his gentle human nature was the legacy of countless generations of apex predators who had conquered one of the most dangerous worlds in known space. And somehow that made his friendship even more meaningful to them. Daeho was studying in the library when the station-wide alert began. The lights changed from their normal warm white to a pulsing orange, and the announcement system activated with a tone he had never heard before. Attention all residents of Harmony Station. Solar flare detected approaching our position. All students report to designated safety areas immediately. This is not a drill. Around him, alien students began moving with urgent purpose toward the exits. Daeho gathered his materials and followed the crowd, noting that everyone seemed to know exactly what to do. Clearly, solar flare alerts were more common than he had realized. The safety area for his section was a large room deep inside the station, surrounded by extra shielding. Students were filing in and finding places to sit on the floor or against the walls. Daeho found his friends in one corner and joined them. How long do these usually last? He asked Sora, who was checking her. Personal radiation monitor? Depends on the size of the flare, she replied, her green skin looking paler than usual. Could be a few hours, could be a day or more. The important thing is to stay in the shielded areas, Hyun-Soo added, his purple skin darkening with worry. Solar radiation can be deadly if the station's regular shielding gets overwhelmed. Dae-ho nodded and settled in to wait. Around the room, students were sharing food, playing quiet games, or just talking to pass the time. The atmosphere was calm, but serious. About 2 hours into the wait, the first student collapsed. It was a small furry being from one of the outer rim worlds. One moment she was talking quietly with her friends, the next she was on the floor, her breathing shallow and rapid. "Medical emergency in Safety Area 7, someone called out, and within minutes the station's medical team arrived with emergency equipment. But as they worked on the first student, others began showing symptoms: nausea, dizziness, weakness, difficulty breathing. Mi-young's crystal skin began flickering erratically, while Bo-Ram's 4 eyes lost their usual sharp focus. "It's radiation sickness," one of the medics announced. "The solar flare is stronger than expected. The station's shielding is holding, but radiation levels are still elevated beyond safe parameters for most species." More students fell ill. Sora developed a fever and couldn't stop shivering, while Hyun-Soo's skin turned a sickly gray color. The medical team was quickly overwhelmed, trying to treat dozens of patients with different physiologies and different reactions to radiation exposure. "We need to move the most critical cases to the medical bay," the chief medical officer announced, "but we can't spare the staff to transport everyone." "I can help," Dae-ho offered, standing up from where he had been sitting beside Sora. "Fourier." Medic looked at him in surprise. "You should be experiencing symptoms by now. The radiation levels in here are well above the safe threshold for most humanoid species." "I feel fine," Dae-ho said honestly. "Maybe humans are more resistant to radiation than other species?" Dr. Kim, the human medical officer, overheard and came over with a scanner. "Let me check your levels, Dae-ho." The scanner beeped and displayed readings that made Dr. Kim frown. "That's odd. You're showing elevated radiation exposure, but your body doesn't seem to be reacting to it." "Is that bad?" "For most species, these levels would cause severe illness or death, but your cellular structure appears to be handling it normally." Dr. Kim looked thoughtful. "What's the background radiation level on Earth?" "I don't know. Is that important?" "It might be very important." Dr. Kim began taking more detailed scans. "Earth is located in a part of space with higher than average cosmic radiation, plus your planet has less atmospheric and magnetic shielding than most garden worlds. Humans may have evolved a natural resistance to radiation that other species lack." As if to prove his point, Jae-wook appeared at Dae-ho's shoulder, looking concerned but healthy. "What can we do to help?" he asked. "You're not sick either?" the chief medical officer asked in amazement. "We both feel fine," Jae-wook confirmed. Dr. Kim was making rapid notes on his tablet. "This is remarkable. You're both functioning normally in radiation levels that are incapacitating other species. So we can help move the sick students?" Dae-ho asked. "Yes, but carefully. Many of them are very weak right now." For the next several hours, Dae-ho and Jae-wook worked alongside the medical team, helping to transport sick students to the medical bay and assisting with basic care. The radiation levels that were making their friends desperately ill didn't seem to affect the humans at all. As Dae-ho carefully carried a small reptilian student to a treatment bed, Hyun-Soo looked up at him from his own bed, where he was receiving IV fluids for radiation sickness. "How are you doing this?" Hyunsu asked weakly. "Doing what?" "Moving around like nothing's wrong. The radiation levels should be killing you." Daeho thought about it. "I guess humans are just used to radiation. Dr. Kim said Earth has more background radiation than most planets." "How much more?" Boram asked from a nearby bed, her 4 eyes barely able to focus. Dr. Kim, who was monitoring several patients at once, answered for him. "About 50 times more than the average garden world. What humans consider normal background radiation would require emergency evacuation protocols on most other planets." The medical bay fell quiet except for the hum of equipment and the soft beeping of monitors. 50 times more, Sora repeated weakly from her bed. "You live with 50 times more radiation than we do every day of your lives?" "I never really thought about it," Daeho admitted. "And not just live with it," Dr. Kim continued, checking Sora's IV, "but thrive under it. Human cellular repair mechanisms are remarkably efficient at handling radiation damage. What would cause fatal mutations? In other species, human cells just fix and keep going." Myung's crystal skin flickered dimly. "So this emergency that's making us all sick? For you, it's just a slightly bad day?" Daeho looked around at his friends, all of them weak and suffering from radiation that barely affected him. "I'm really sorry you're all going through this." "Don't apologize," Hyunsu said with a weak smile. "Be proud. Your species evolved to survive in conditions that would sterilize most worlds. That's incredible. And you're using that toughness to help us," Sora added. "That makes you not just survivors, but heroes." The solar flare lasted another 18 hours. Throughout that time, Daeho and Jaewook worked tirelessly to help their sick classmates, bringing them food and water, helping them to the bathroom, and just sitting with them when they were scared or in pain. When the all-clear finally sounded and the radiation levels dropped back to normal, most of the alien students needed several more days to recover fully. But they remembered how the humans had taken care of them when they were helpless. "I've been thinking," Sora said to Daeho as she was finally discharged from the medical bay. "Everyone talks about how dangerous deathworlders are, but I think they miss the most important thing." "What's that?" "You didn't become strong just to hurt things. You became strong to protect things, to protect each other, and now to protect us." Daeho felt a warm feeling in his chest. He had never thought of human toughness as a way to protect others, but maybe Sora was right. As they walked back to their quarters together, Daeho realized that surviving the solar flare had changed something fundamental in his relationship with his alien friends. They no longer saw him as just a curiosity from a dangerous world. They saw him as someone they could count on when things got bad. And somehow, that felt like the most important thing he had learned since arriving at Harmony Station. 2 weeks after the solar flare incident, Professor Kang announced the final project for their comparative planetology class. Students would work in groups to create a presentation about environmental adaptation, focusing on one specific world, and how its conditions shaped the evolution of its inhabitants. Daeho was sitting with his friends in their usual study spot when Sora made her suggestion. "We should do our project on Earth," she said, looking excited about the idea. "Earth?" Daeho asked, surprised. "But you know more about your own planets." "That's exactly why we should study Earth," Hyunsu said, his purple skin brightening. "With interest. We've learned so much about human adaptations over the past few weeks, but we still don't really understand how your world shaped your species. Plus," Boram added, "after the solar flare, everyone on the station is curious about Deathworld adaptations. A documentary about Earth would be incredibly popular. Mi Young's crystal skin flickered with enthusiasm. We could show other students what daily life is really like on a class-themed Deathworld. Daeho felt uncomfortable with the idea. I don't want to make Earth sound scary or make humans seem like monsters. That's not what we want either, Sora assured him. We want to show the truth, how humans adapted to survive, and how those adaptations made them capable of protecting others, like you did during the emergency. After some discussion, they decided to proceed with the Earth documentary. Daeho contacted his family back home to request videos of normal daily life, while his friends researched Earth's environmental conditions from the Galactic database. What they found amazed even Daeho. Listen to this, Boram said, reading from her tablet. Earth experiences seismic activity that would be classified as catastrophic on most worlds. Volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, tsunamis, and humans build their cities right on top of the most geologically active areas. And the weather, Mi Young added. Temperature variations of over 100 degrees Celsius between different regions, storms, with wind speeds exceeding 300 kilometers per hour, and precipitation that ranges from frozen crystals to liquid drops to ice chunks the size of rocks. Hyen Su was studying atmospheric data. The atmospheric composition includes gases that are toxic to most species. The pressure varies dramatically with altitude, and the radiation levels would require protective equipment on any civilized world. But humans just live there, Sora said wonderingly. They don't hide in underground bunkers or wear protective suits. They go outside for fun. When the videos from Daeho's family arrived, the group spent hours reviewing footage of what humans considered normal recreational activities. The aliens' reactions were both amusing and eye-opening for Daeho. "This is your little sister?" Sora asked, watching a video of 8-year-old Daejin playing in ocean waves. "Yes, she loves the beach. Those waves are taller than she is, and she's laughing while they crash over her head." "It's just the ocean. Kids play in the waves all the time." Boram was studying a video of Daeho's father hiking in the mountains. The atmospheric pressure at that altitude would cause most species to lose consciousness, but he's climbing higher on purpose. He likes mountain climbing, says the view from the top is worth the effort. And this? Mi Young pointed to footage of a family barbecue during a thunderstorm. Your relatives are cooking food outside while electrical discharges are happening directly overhead? The storm wasn't that bad. We just moved the grill under the covered patio. Hyen Su was particularly fascinated by a video of Daeho's mother gardening. She's working with soil that contains living bacteria, fungi, and decomposing organic matter, using only thin gloves for protection. Mom has always loved gardening. She says working with her hands in the dirt helps her relax. Relaxes her? Hyen Su's skin had gone very pale. Direct contact with unsterilized biological matter relaxes her? As they compiled the documentary, Daeho began to see his childhood through alien eyes. His friends created sections on different aspects of human adaptation, narrating over the family videos with scientific explanations. The section on weather adaptation showed children playing in snow, families swimming during rainstorms, and people going about their daily business during what the aliens classified as extreme meteorological events. The biological adaptation section featured humans eating spicy foods, drinking alcohol, and consuming fermented products, with detailed explanations of how human digestive systems could process substances that would be toxic to other species. The Physical adaptation section included footage of humans lifting heavy objects, running long distances, and participating in sports that required strength and endurance far beyond what most galactic species could achieve. But the section that surprised Daeho the most was the one Sora created about social adaptation. Humans didn't just develop individual survival traits, she explained in her narration. They evolved complex social behaviors that let them work together to survive conditions that would kill isolated individuals. The video showed humans helping each other during natural disasters, sharing resources during difficult times, and taking care of sick or injured community members. When the environment is trying to kill you every day, Sora continued, cooperation isn't just helpful, it's essential for species survival. The night before their presentation, the group watched their completed documentary together. It was 20 minutes long and covered everything from Earth's geological activity to human dietary habits to social cooperation. I still can't believe this is just normal life for you, Boram said as the video ended. It is normal, Daeho replied, but I'm starting to understand that normal is relative. Are you nervous about tomorrow? Mi-young asked. Daeho nodded. A little. This documentary makes humans sound pretty intense. You are intense, Hyen-Su said gently. But that's not a bad thing. Intensity is what let your species survive and thrive on a world that would have killed most others. The presentation day arrived, and their documentary was scheduled to be shown to the entire university community in the main auditorium. Daeho had never seen so many different species in one place. Students, faculty, and staff from dozens of worlds had come to see the Deathworld documentary. As the lights dimmed and their video began to play, Daeho watched the audience's reactions. There were gasps during the storm footage, worried murmurs during the food section, and amazed silence during the segments about human physical capabilities. But the biggest reaction came during Sora's section about social cooperation. As the video showed humans rescuing each other from floods, sharing food during disasters, and caring for the sick and elderly, the auditorium filled with appreciative sounds from various species. When the documentary ended, the applause was enthusiastic and sustained. Professor Kang took the stage with a huge smile. This remarkable presentation shows us that adaptation isn't just about becoming tough enough to survive harsh conditions, he said. It's about developing the wisdom to know when toughness should be used to protect rather than to threaten. After the presentation, students from across the university approached Daeho to ask questions and share their thoughts. Many seemed less afraid of humans now and more interested in understanding them. Your documentary changed how I think about deathworlders, said a small, delicate student from one of the garden worlds. I used to think you were dangerous because you were aggressive. Now I understand you're strong because you had to be, and wise enough to use that strength to help others. As Daeho walked back to his quarters that night, surrounded by friends from different worlds who now understood his species better, he felt a deep sense of accomplishment. The documentary had done more than just explain human adaptations. It had built bridges of understanding between species that had previously feared each other. And maybe, Daeho thought, that was the most human thing of all, using their strength not to dominate, but to bring different peoples together. The semester was ending, and Harmony Station buzzed with excitement as students prepared for the final celebration. Daeho could hardly believe how much had changed since his nervous arrival months ago. The corridors that had once felt alien and intimidating now felt like home, and the strange sounds and smells of the station had become as familiar as his childhood neighborhood in Seoul. The celebration was held in the station's largest gathering space, a massive hall with transparent, walls that offered a stunning view of the stars. Students from all 47 worlds mingled freely, sharing food, music, and stories from their home planets. Daeho was amazed to realize that he had become something of a celebrity on the station. Students he had never met approached him to ask questions about Earth, to thank him for the documentary, or simply to shake hands with the human who survived the solar flare. Daeho, called out a familiar voice. He turned to see Professor Kang approaching with a small group of faculty members. I'd like you to meet some colleagues. They've been very impressed with your contributions to the program. The introductions led to an interesting conversation about human adaptations and their implications for galactic society. But what surprised Daeho most was how the professors talked about humans, not as dangerous oddities, but as valuable members of the galactic community. Your documentary has been requested by universities on 15 different worlds, one professor explained. It's helping to change how deathworld species are perceived throughout the galaxy. That's wonderful, Daeho said, feeling proud of his friend's hard work on the project. More than wonderful, Professor Kang added. It's important. Understanding between species is the foundation of galactic peace. As the evening continued, Daeho found himself at a table with his core group of friends, Sora, Mi-young, Hyun-soo, Bo-ram, and Jae-wook. They were sharing stories about their favorite memories from the semester. Remember the hot sauce incident? Bo-ram said, laughing. I thought you were going to poison the entire station. I still can't believe you eat toxins for pleasure, Hyun-soo added, shaking his head in amazement. And the nullball game, Mi-young said, her crystal skin flickering with amusement. Watching you two play in gravity that crushed the rest of us was like seeing superheroes in action. Don't forget the biodome, Sora added. The way you recognized that the predator was actually prey showed us how much we didn't understand about Earth's ecosystems. And during the solar flare, Jae-wook said quietly, when everyone else was sick, you took care of them. That meant everything to us. Daeho felt overwhelmed by their kindness. You all taught me just as much. I never realized how unique humans were until I saw our world through your eyes. That's what makes this program so valuable, Sora said. We all learned from each other. Their conversation was interrupted when a small group of younger students approached their table shyly. They looked nervous but determined. Excuse us, said a young Altarian with pale green skin like Sora. Are you Lee Daeho, the human from the documentary? Yes, that's me. We're first-year students and we wanted to thank you. Before your documentary, we were afraid of Deathworld species. We thought they were violent and dangerous. But now we understand, added a small crystalline being. You're not dangerous because you want to hurt people. You're strong because you had to be, and you use that strength to protect others. A third student, this one with blue fur and multiple eyes, stepped forward. Could we ask you some questions about Earth? We're doing a project on interspecies cooperation, and we think human social adaptations are fascinating. Daeho spent the next hour talking with the young students, answering their questions and sharing stories about human culture and history. As he talked, he noticed that other conversations had paused, and more students were gathering to listen. On Earth, he explained, we have a saying, it takes a village to raise a child. It means that communities work together to take care of everyone, especially those who can't take care of themselves. Is that why humans developed such strong social bonds? Asked one of the listeners. I think so. When your environment is constantly challenging you, cooperation isn't optional. It's survival. And that's why you helped us during the solar flare, Sora added, Not because you had to, but because that's what humans do. You take care of your community. As the crowd of listeners grew, Deho found himself giving an impromptu lecture about human social evolution. He talked about how communities work together during natural disasters, how strangers would help each other in emergencies, and how human cultures had developed complex systems of mutual support. "But don't all species help each other?" asked a young student. "To some extent," Hyun-soo replied. "But most of our worlds are stable enough that individual survival is possible. Humans had to develop cooperation as a basic survival strategy, which made them incredibly effective when they started working with other species," Boram added. "They already knew how to build bridges between different groups." When the impromptu lesson ended, the young students thanked Deho enthusiastically and returned to their own celebrations. But the impact of the conversation continued to spread throughout the gathering. Later in the evening, Sora pulled Deho aside to a quieter corner of the hall. "I have something for you," she said, producing a small, carefully wrapped package. Inside was a tiny plant in a specially designed container. The plant had thick, waxy leaves and looked almost like a succulent from Earth, but its blue-green color was unlike anything Deho had seen. "It's a friendship vine from Altair Prime," Sora explained, "but this one is special. I've been working with the botany department to modify it so it can survive in Earth-like conditions." Deho looked at the small plant with amazement. "You modified it to survive on Earth? It can handle temperature variations, higher radiation levels, and even some atmospheric changes. I wanted you to have something that represents our friendship, but also shows that understanding between our species is possible." "So raw. This is incredible. Thank you." "There's more," she said, smiling. "The botany department wants to use this as the basis for a new research program. They're calling it Adaptive Horticulture for Interspecies Exchange. The idea is to develop plants that can survive on different worlds, creating living symbols of cooperation between species." As Deho carefully held the small plant, he realized it represented something much larger than friendship. It was proof that different species could adapt to each other's worlds, literally and figuratively. The celebration continued late into the night, but eventually students began returning to their quarters. As Deho walked back with his friends, he reflected on how much everything had changed. "Next semester is going to be different," Jae-wook said. "There are 12 more humans arriving next week." "12 more?" Boram asked with interest. "That's wonderful, but I hope they're prepared for the attention." "I'll help them adjust," Deho said. "I can teach them what I've learned about explaining human capabilities without scaring anyone." "And we'll help too," Mi-young added. "We can introduce them to other students and help them understand how galactic society works." "It's going to be interesting," Hyun-soo said thoughtfully. "Having more humans here will change the dynamic of the entire program." When they reached their quarters, Deho's friends said their good nights and headed to their own rooms. Alone in his room, Deho carefully placed Sora's plant on his desk and sat down to video call his family back on Earth. His parents appeared on the screen, eager to hear about his experiences. Behind them, he could see his little sister, Dae-jin, playing with their dog in the background, a perfectly normal scene that he now knew would fascinate his alien friends. "We saw the documentary," his mother said proudly. "The university here on Earth received a copy, and it's being used in xenocultural studies classes." "Really? Your father and I are thinking of applying to be cultural ambassadors," she continued. After seeing how well you've represented humanity, we want to help build more connections between Earth and other worlds. That's amazing, Mom. His father leaned closer to the camera. We're proud of you, son, not just for your academic achievements, but for showing other species that humans can be strong without being threatening. After the call ended, Daeho sat quietly for a while, looking out at the stars through his room's small window. Somewhere out there was Earth, the dangerous world, that had shaped his species into something remarkable. And here he was, living among the stars, helping to build bridges between worlds that had once seemed impossibly different. A soft chime from his computer interrupted his thoughts. Professor Kang had sent a message to all students about next semester's courses. There would be new classes on interspecies cooperation, deathworld adaptations, and cultural exchange methodologies. But what caught Daeho's attention was a note at the bottom of the message. Mr. Lee Daeho has been selected as a peer mentor for incoming students. His experience in cross-cultural communication and species adaptation makes him an ideal guide for new arrivals. A peer mentor. Daeho smiled at the idea. Just a few months ago, he had been the nervous new arrival, worried about representing his species properly. Now he would be helping other students navigate the same.